Chapter 489, Accumulating Military Merits. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. I want to go too, group leader, Auxinian said. Zhang Yuochen stared at her with a serious look. Once again, he advised, Blackwood Field is very dangerous. Even with my cultivation, I could still be killed inside. Are you sure you want to go? Auxinian opened her beautiful eyes and said firmly, I want to help you. She was insisting. Even if Zhang Yuochen chased her away, she would surely follow him into the Blackwood Field. If that happened, it would be even more dangerous. Zhang Yuochen nodded gently. Fine. I can bring you with me, but once we enter the Blackwood Field, you have to obey my orders. Great. Auxinian was very happy. She agreed immediately. Zhang Rukan thought for a moment and took out a black glazed spine the size of a basin. He handed it to her. Right now, you have a martial cultivation at the final state of the heaven realm. Refine this spirit treasure of water nature. It should help you break through to the completion of heaven realm. Auxinian took the black glazed spinel and quickly felt the rich spiritual chi of water nature inside. It was as cold as ice, but still sent out a touch of moisture. With her half-dragon body, refining water-natured spirit treasure was like giving water to a fish. It greatly improved her physical quality and enhanced her cultivation. Thank you so much, group leader. She held the black glazed spinel tightly. He gave me such a precious treasure. This obviously shows that he still cares about me. Zhang Yuochen walked to the edge of the Blackwood Field and stopped. He released his strong spiritual power and explored the dark forest. When the strength of one's spiritual power reached the 41st level, he could sense danger and blessings and easily foresee disasters, maximizing the good and minimizing the bad. How is it? Asked Blackie. Zhang Yuochen's face was grim. There is a huge sense of murder in the Blackwood Field. If we enter, it will be difficult to escape. It is the wood spirit primitive world's chi of origin. They want to kill you, Blackie said. Zhang Yuochen nodded his head and said without fear, let's go. I'd like to take a look. What kind of danger could be hidden in Blackwood Field? Zhang Yuochen pressed his fingers against his temples and stimulated the sky eye. With a bang, a light streak cracked open from his eyebrow and turned into a vertical eye, exposing the sky eye pupil. It looked like a fireball. Using the sky eye, he could observe all the movement in the surrounding area, including every move the treeman made. There are an extraordinary amount of treemen living in the Blackwood Field. There are 39 millennial treemen within 1,000 kilometers. Every one of them is comparable to a superior of the fish dragon realm. Among them, the most powerful treeman is 440 meters tall and comparable to a monk at the third change in the fish dragon realm. If a warrior of the heaven realm without sky eye went in it, he would most likely die. However, with Zhang Yuochen's power and his sky eye, it was worth a try. I left blood on the heaven board. If I kill an indigenous creature at the first change in the fish dragon realm, I can get 1,000 military merits. And if I kill an indigenous creature at the second change of the fish dragon realm, I can get 10,000 military merits. If I kill an indigenous creature at the third change in the fish dragon realm, I can get 100,000 military merits. This is a perfect opportunity to kill treemen, gain fighting experience, and earn military merits. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuochen's war intent actually increased. Among the warriors of the heaven realm, only the top 10 figures on the heaven board had the ability to fight with indigenous creatures at the third change in the fish dragon realm. Of course, even with their power, they could only combat with one or just barely defeat it. However, the indigenous creatures were not stupid. If they realized that they could not win, they would flee immediately. The battlefield of the primitive world was indigenous land. If an outsider wanted to kill the indigenous creatures, he could easily fall into the opponent's traps, and they wouldn't even know how they died. Every year, a large number of warriors from the heaven board who were eager to gain military merits died in the battlefield of the primitive world. Among them, there were even top 10 masters of the heaven board. It was a very difficult task to gain 30 million military merits and reach the ultimate realm. In the past century, hardly anyone had been able to do it. Zhang Yuochen, Blackie, Auxinian, and the Orange Star emissary finally entered the Blackwood Field. They began to take out the treemen around the outside of Blackwood Field. After an hour, Jiang Yuochen and his party quietly arrived at the area where the nearest millennial treeman was. This forest was densely populated with trees, heavy humidity, and difficult terrain. There was no way to see the sky. In addition to the millennial treeman, many powerful century-old treemen also grew in the forest. At the edge of the forest area, Jiang Ruken stopped and looked at Aoxinian and Blackie. "I will take care of the millennial treeman, you get the others. Remember, we must not let go of the trees, otherwise, we will reveal our whereabouts. If we are besieged by treemen, we will surely die." Aoxinian said, "Don't worry, group leader, these treemen are comparable to the cultivation of the heaven realm at most. Even without Blackie's help, I could take care of them with just my power." After experiencing a few catastrophes, Aoxinian had grown a lot. However, she also understood that in the battlefield of primitive world, one shall stand, and one shall fall. She had never killed anyone before. She decided killing treemen would be good practice. Jiang Yuochen nodded his head. He started a body movement, turned into a shadow, and dashed into the forest. In the center of this area, there was a giant 300-meter tall tree reaching with a thick strong trunk. 7 adults holding hands could barely surround it. A vine was wrapped around the bark. It had many lines and was tough, as if it had casted by black gold. In fact, the millennial treeman's bark, trunk, and roots were all treasures that could be used to make armor and pills. Swoosh! Jiang Yuochen rushed from a distance, passing through the vines and thorns. He stopped and stood under the giant tree. Jiang Yuochen looked up. He could see clearly that the giant tree was breathing. When the tree inhaled, the heaven and earth spiritual chi was like water in a stream, forming lines that gathered continuously towards it. When the tree exhaled, the forest was filled with the sound of rustling wind. All the leaves swirled up and the wind was very violent. It had grown for 1,300 years. It was unclear how much wind and rain it had experienced, but it still stood there. There had to be tremendous power in its trunk. The millennial treeman sensed Jiang Yuochen just as he appeared below it. 2 cracks opened on its trunk which formed 2 large eyes. When it saw the human standing below, it shook violently. It shouted, "Extraterritorial death, you finally appeared." Jiang Yuochen, with his hands on his back, asked curiously, "Why did you call me extraterritorial death?" "Because you are the devil who will destroy the treeman tribe." Humphrey, the god of trees, passed us an oracle. He wants us to kill you at all costs. The millennial treeman controlled its 7 large branches. Like 7 iron walls, the branches attacked toward Jiang Yuochen. Jiang Yuochen propped up his celestial body shield and turned it into a blue genuine chi ball, blocking the attacks of the millennial treeman. Dragon and elephant returned to earth. Jiang Yuochen jumped up across the void. He pushed out a palm with his thick genuine chi. It condensed into a huge handprint and hit the trunk instantly. This millennial treeman had practiced for 1,300 years. It was equivalent to a warrior with cultivation at the first change in the fish dragon realm. But Jiang Yuochen's attack was enough to kill a monk at the first change in the fish dragon realm. Pow! The handprint struck the trunk, leaving a deep gash. Drops of red blood appeared. The millennial treeman uttered a deep, painful sound. The millennial treeman knew that it could not match the extraterritorial death. A root emerged from the soil and turned into long black tentacles. It moved swiftly toward the center of the Blackwood field. It wanted to inform the treant ancestor about the arrival of the extraterritorial death. If that treant ancestor was able to come, it could surely kill the extraterritorial death. What a treeman. It has a very strong defensive power. I used all my strength and barely harmed it. Jiang Yuochen could not give the millennial treeman any chance to escape. He immediately summoned the Abyss Ancient Sword. He injected genuine chi into the blade, activating the holy sword's power. The sword tip shot out a 10-meter black light. Swoosh! Jiang Yuochen swung the sword, dragging out a long sword light. Dozens of sword chi rushed out to cut the trunk of the millennial treeman in half. Hateful! Extermination! Death! You must die! Oh! Just before the millennial treeman died, it shouted loudly. It was trying to inform the other treeman that the extraterritorial death was here. Unfortunately, Jiang Yuochen had already opened his space domain. The millennial treeman's shout was not heard. The trunk rattled and crashed, leaving only a bloody stump. On the stump, There were more than 1,300 growth rings, and blood was gushing out from all of them. The strange thing was that the blood of the Millennial Dreamer didn't smell like blood. Instead it emitted a faint fragrant scent. Another 1,000 military merits. In the Heavenly Ring, Zhang Yuochen had defeated the Orange Star Emissary, 683rd on the Heaven Board. Thus, he had replaced her ranking and received military merits. With the addition of this 1,000 military merits, he had obtained a total of 514,000 military merits. He still needed to accumulate more.